Every Saturday and Sunday through gates like this one at Naval Air Stations all over the United States come weekend warriors, pilots and enlisted men of Naval Air Reserve Training Units, NAR2. Based on a regular fleet station, these reserves operate with and alongside regular fleet units. Many of these men are veterans of World War II and Korea, determined to maintain and improve their combat readiness and be immediately available to their country in case of any emergency. Others are of school age, learning skills which will enable them to get ahead faster when they are called into the branch of the Navy in which they're most interested. Free people everywhere may someday depend on our ability to deploy reserves for their defense. The crews of the 6 P2Vs and the 4-engine R5D go aboard. At 1200, the planes take the air. And now, airborne, headed for Europe, just as if there were an actual emergency. A join-up and final salute before departing. One of NAR2's own fighter squadrons acts as escort to the coast. Patrol Squadron 741 is on its way. True course, 081 degrees. Some 4.5 hours later, after 882 nautical miles, Kindley Air Force Base, Bermuda. Here the squadron puts down for the night. The weather is humid and mild. A night's rest then, and on to the Azores. True course, 078 degrees. The weather is good, the planes roar on. It's still Sunday when the Azores appear on the horizon. On time and on schedule after 1,909 nautical miles. Another overnight stop, and the Air Force fills the squadron's operational requirements with prompt refueling and servicing as soon as it arrives. In the morning, on to Port Lyautey, French Morocco. Across these beaches, U.S. forces drove forward in 1942 to help push the Axis powers out of North Africa. Now the plane's engines throb over Port Lyautey, our main naval air base in the European-African theater. North Africa, 43 hours after departure from Jax. Again on time, on schedule, the first Neptune touches down. Our naval forces welcome the reserves with open arms. The effect of this new reserve is not missed by our French allies. The ability to project U.S. naval air forces into the probable and vital areas of conflict to maintain our control of the seas and lines of communication strike a sympathetic spot in the hearts of our European allies. They understand the meaning of a ready reserve. The proposed exercises and area familiarization are approved by the United States Navy Commander-in-Chief in Europe. After the greetings and the servicing of the planes, there is a little time for sightseeing. Next morning, the crews are briefed, the planes readied, and off again. Next stop, Portugal, over the waters of Trafalgar, where British sea power saved the British Empire against Napoleon. And on to Lisbon, to repay the visit of the Portuguese naval aviators to Jacksonville last year, when the reserves checked them out in the operations of patrol aircraft sent to Portugal under the Mutual Defense Pact. Greetings in Lisbon are warm, old friends meet, and common ties are reestablished. The Portuguese are old seafaring men and know that their safety and security rests on their sea lines of communication. The reserve anti-submarine and commerce-protecting crews are most welcome as a reminder of America's ability to assist in time of need. While the official reception is going on, the men enjoy a few leisure hours visiting the scenic spots of this capital city, one of the most beautiful cities in Europe. Sailors are the same the world over. Friends are easily made. And, of course, pictures for the girl back home. Portuguese are gracious people. They even take over the security of the aircraft to permit all hands to enjoy a few hours' liberty. And then hearty goodbye to old friends and off to Malta. But a rough-running engine on one of the planes spells trouble. The choice is to return to Port Lyote for assistance or to stop in Gibraltar and make necessary repairs. Since the trouble appears to be with the ignition system, the decision is that it can be repaired at Gibraltar. The P-2V carrying the ignition spares will land and provide the parts needed. The pilot calls Gibraltar for landing instructions and permission is given to land. And so this outpost of British power becomes a safe haven for U.S. aircraft. Without formalities, a British base becomes available to their American friends. Who knows when we'll have to use this base again, as in World War II. They find welcome from the RAF and offers of assistance. But this is a test of self-sufficiency. Patrol Squadron 741 must get along without outside help. Technicians turn to on the faulty engine, locate the trouble, and in a few hours, the plane is back in tip-top condition. Then back on schedule again. Below, the Mediterranean, one of the vital links in Western lines of communication and defense, shimmers in peaceful quiet. Malta revisited after 2 years. They still remember, and Patrol Squadron 741 still remembers them. Malta is now the squadron's advanced base. The next day, the planes are serviced for the major exercise of this cruise. The British are very interested in this reserve operation. They watch as maintenance crews prepare for the morrow's mission. And in turn, the United States crews get a checkout in British jet anti-submarine aircraft. The British Navy maintains a constant combat readiness in this lonely island in the Mediterranean. And a visit around the island base, and a look at some of the monuments to British tenacity in the last war. The old harbor of Valletta still acts as a base for British sea power. Malta itself is actually a fixed island carrier from which operations in the Mediterranean may be launched during an emergency. The officers are welcomed by Admiral Mountbatten, an old acquaintance of Patrol Squadron 741 when it was deployed to Malta during the Korean conflict. Meanwhile, orders are received. VP 741 is to conduct simulated mining exercises in the Aegean Sea in support of the 6th Fleet. The crews are briefed and wartime security restrictions are applied. This is it, the object of all those hours of preparation, in the classroom and in the check crews, on ordnance exercises, instrument flying, and long overwater navigation. Now it is paying off. Radio silence is maintained as the squadron moves out with listening watches on all equipment. Patrol plane commanders give last-minute instructions to crew members. The exercise area is clear, and then mines away. Pilots report all mines dropped in assigned area and get a well done from the commanding officer. Now the squadron is off for the area familiarization visits arranged through diplomatic channels. 3 planes to Athens to visit our Greek allies, and 3 to Istanbul at the edge of the Iron Curtain to pay a call on our Turkish friends. Istanbul, in its uniquely strategic location, gives Turkey command of the Bosphorus, a major link in the only sea route from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. The next morning, through the courtesy of the Turkish government, the men are given a boat ride up the Bosphorus. Here can be seen the anti-submarine nets guarding this exit and the alert Turkish defenses. Just 1 week out of Jacksonville, and VP 741 is at the outer fringe of the Western defenses. Everyone understands Mark Twain's statement now. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness, and many of our people need it sorely on these accounts. And also that time spent in reconnaissance is seldom wasted. In Athens, meanwhile, the other crews are getting acquainted with Greek scenes. Much of it is in the product of that golden age that followed the Battle of Salamis, the Greeks' victory over the Persians in the year 480 BC. And then homeward bound, a little weary and a little tired, but happy in the knowledge that the whole operation has proceeded according to plan. The main points have been proven: readiness, mobility, and self-sufficiency. Naples is a stopover for a day. It's Sunday and everyone is in holiday spirit. Then the planes fly over historic Rome, Marseille, and Paris, en route to London. Over the coast of England, where the Royal Navy Volunteer Reserves rendezvous and lead the way. England is a friendly land with reminders that a few short years ago, U.S. Navy patrol squadrons based in England helped the British win their Battle of the Atlantic. The U.S. Navy Commander-in-Chief in Europe, Admiral Cassidy, welcomes the group. He's an old friend from the time he commanded in Jacksonville and in the 6th Fleet during the last emergency. He congratulates the squadron on a splendid performance unique in the Naval Air Reserve training program. A few days rest in London after 9 days of intensive operation. Time for both aircraft and crew to prepare for the long flight home. The British are most gracious in their hospitality. Sightseeing, a study of weather maps of the route home. The northern route was the intended way home, but it's rough, bad weather all the way. Safety is a paramount factor. The open southern route is chosen since the flexibility of these patrol planes permits this selection. Patrol Squadron 741 heads for the Azores and a place to land, rest, and prepare for the morrow and North America again. In the morning, on to Argentia. But this field is closed and the planes overfly to Harmon Air Force Base in Stevensville for the next stop. Bases in this forbidding area are so planned that at least one will be open under all conditions. Tomorrow, Washington and Jacksonville in good old USA. Naval Air Reserve fighters intercept and act as escorts over Boston, over New York, over Philadelphia, and finally into Washington, last capital of the four-continent cruise. Vice Admiral Ofsty has a welcome for VP 741. The Navy is proud of you, he says. We've followed your trip with great interest. Your cruise is another first in naval aviation. We hope many reserve squadrons will continue operations with the fleet from now on in their annual training duty. After clearing customs, last leg of the cruise, and home. On time, on schedule. Patrol Squadron 741 in 14 days has operated 16,000 miles in 11 countries on 4 continents and was self-sufficient at all times. You have seen the beginning of your new Naval Air Reserve, reserve task forces deployed for fleet duty in peace as in war. Upon reserves like these, the destiny of our country and of our friends everywhere may well depend in days to come. This is your global Naval Air Reserve, dedicated to the cause of peace and devoted to duty so that free people everywhere may rest